The Nereid slid out of hyperspace with a low shudder, her hull catching faint light from the nearby stars. Captain Elias Ward stood on the command deck, hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien system unfold on the viewscreen. The Andrixis sector was officially Vilari territory, uncharted to humans except for warning beacons that kept explorers away. Yet here he was, pushing past invisible borders, carrying both a diplomatic mandate and the quiet knowledge that one mistake could doom his crew. Signal from the Vilari station, Lieutenant Harrow announced. They're demanding identification. Elias adjusted his uniform, his voice even. Transmit our credentials. State peaceful intent. He masked his unease, but he knew the Vilari by reputation, giants of living light, brilliant, beautiful, and merciless in protecting their borders. Humanity had only fragments of cultural records on them, all of which agreed on one fact: the Vilari considered humans insignificant. The screen flickered, and a towering figure filled the display. Bioluminescent lines traced across pale skin like constellations. She stood taller than the room could contain, even from a holographic projection. Her voice, when it came, was deep and resonant, carrying a hint of restrained curiosity. I am Lysara, Science Envoy of the Vilari Dominion. You risk trespass. State why you dare approach. Elias kept his tone measured. Captain Elias Ward, United Terran Fleet. We come in peace, seeking dialogue. Humanity has no wish for conflict. Lysara studied him in silence. Her gaze, luminous and intense, seemed to strip away all pretense. Then, unexpectedly, she gave a faint smile. Humans. Fragile bodies, but endlessly persistent. You intrigue me. The connection ended, but authorization codes followed seconds later. The Vilari were permitting docking. Elias exhaled slowly. The first step had worked. The docking bay was vast, built for bodies much larger than his crew. Metallic floors gleamed, reflecting faint bioluminescent patterns that pulsed from the walls like a heartbeat. Elias walked ahead of his officers, dwarfed by the architecture, until Lysara entered with fluid grace. Up close, she was overwhelming, 3 meters tall, her form both regal and alien. Translucent hair shimmered faintly, as though threads of starlight had been woven into strands. Yet her expression was controlled, her movements precise. You are small, she said without judgment. Her gaze swept over him, lingering. Smaller than our youths. And yet, you stand without fear. Fear is there, Elias admitted. But I've learned not to let it show. Something flickered across her face, amusement or perhaps respect. She gestured for him to follow. You wish dialogue. Walk with me. The corridors of the Vilari station glowed faintly, the light responding to Lysara's steps. Elias listened as she explained fragments of her people's history, guardians of stellar currents, overseers of genetic purity, bound by ancient law. Her voice was steady, but when she spoke of humanity, it softened. You live so briefly, yet you throw yourselves into the void, she said. You risk extinction for discovery. Do you not value survival? We do, Elias answered. But for us, survival means more than safety. It means reaching farther, proving we belong among the stars. Lysara paused, turning toward him. Her luminous eyes caught his reflection. Proving to whom? To yourselves or to us? The question struck deeper than he expected. He did not answer, and her silence afterward was not cold, but thoughtful. That evening, Elias was invited to the observation deck, a chamber of glass and silence, suspended over the galaxy. Lysara was already there, her frame silhouetted against a scatter of stars. You came unarmed, she said, noticing his lack of escort. I thought it polite, Elias replied. She inclined her head, strands of light falling across her shoulders. Few would trust us so openly. Maybe trust is the only way forward. For the first time, her composure cracked with a quiet laugh, low, resonant, almost human. Elias found himself stepping closer, drawn not by duty but by something quieter, personal. You are unlike the others, Lysara murmured. Her tone dropped, almost intimate. Most humans tremble. You stand firm. Still, she hesitated, her gaze drifting over him with conflicted intensity. You must know our forms are not meant to touch. My body is too vast for yours. The idea of closeness is impossible. Elias held her gaze, his voice calm. So I've been told. But impossibility has never stopped my people before. Her lips parted, luminous light rippling faintly across her skin. The silence between them tightened, charged with unspoken meaning. Then she turned away abruptly, her composure snapping back into place. Enough, she said sharply. Our laws forbid such thoughts. Do not pursue them. Before he could answer, another voice cut across the chamber. Wise counsel, Envoy Lysara. A second Vilari entered, darker, sharper, eyes cold with authority. His armor shimmered with etched sigils. Elias recognized the type immediately, a soldier. I am High Enforcer Caliph, the newcomer declared. I oversee this sector. Human, you will obey our boundaries. Stray once, and neither your vessel nor your species will shield you. Elias straightened. I came here under permission. Calith's smile was razor-thin. Permission is fragile. His eyes lingered on Lysara with a shadow of accusation. Remember your duty, envoy. Lysara's posture stiffened. I remember. Without another word, Calith turned and left, his presence like a blade slicing through the air. Silence returned, but it was no longer peaceful. Lysara's glow dimmed faintly, as if her very body had withdrawn into caution. You see, she whispered, why such thoughts cannot be spoken. Elias studied her. She was not only constrained by biology, but by politics, by chains older than either of their lives. And yet, in her hesitation, he felt an opening, not rejection, but fear. He stepped closer, his voice quiet but certain. Then let me speak them, if you cannot. Whatever he believes, whatever your laws say, I don't intend to step back. Lysara looked at him sharply, her luminous eyes burning with conflict. For a heartbeat, her hand twitched as if she might reach for him. But she forced it still, her voice unsteady for the first time. You are reckless, Captain. Maybe, Elias admitted. But reckless is how humanity survives. Her lips curved, not quite a smile, not quite denial. Then she turned away, hiding her expression in the glow of the stars. When Elias returned to the Nereid, his crew pressed for details. He gave them the essentials, permission granted, diplomacy ongoing, but kept the rest to himself. The memory of Lysara's hesitation, her almost touch, burned sharper than any report could capture. Lying in his quarters, he replayed her words. Too vast. Impossible. Yet her voice had trembled. Not impossible. Not entirely. The thought lingered as he closed his eyes, knowing the coming days would test more than treaties. They would test whether the gulf between species could be bridged by something greater than law, greater than fear. And though he would not yet admit it aloud, Elias knew he had already begun to risk everything. The station's corridors carried a hushed rhythm, faint pulses of light running through the walls as if the architecture itself breathed. Captain Elias Ward walked them again, guided this time by silence rather than duty. His diplomatic reports were complete, but he lingered on the Vilari outpost longer than necessary. Something unseen held him here, and he knew it was not politics. Lysara awaited him in a vaulted chamber lined with translucent pillars. She stood beside a table of shifting holograms, alien symbols dancing in the air. When Elias entered, she lifted her gaze, her expression unreadable. You return without summons, she said, her tone measured. Maybe I was curious, Elias answered. Her eyes narrowed, luminous and intense. Humans burn with curiosity. It drives you forward, but it also destroys you. Elias approached the table, studying the floating images. Curiosity brought us this far. Without it, we'd never have crossed the void. Or you would have survived longer, she countered. Then, after a pause, her tone softened. Still, I cannot deny, your persistence intrigues me. They spoke for hours, at first about science, then about memory. Elias shared stories of Earth, oceans vast enough to swallow light, forests that sang with wind, the quiet of snow falling on glass cities. Lysara listened intently, as if each word painted landscapes she had never known. I envy your planet, she admitted. Our homeworld is luminous, but it is also severe. We do not walk freely among rivers or forests. We were shaped by law before we were shaped by love. Law before love, Elias repeated. That sounds lonely. Her gaze lowered. It is necessary. There was weight in her silence. Elias realized she had revealed more than intended. For a moment, he thought she might retreat into composure again, but instead she asked, quietly, "And you? Are you lonely, Captain?" The question disarmed him. He could have lied, spoken as an officer, but he found himself answering honestly. Yes. Command doesn't leave much room for closeness. I've carried it for years. Lysara studied him as though the admission unsettled her. You should not speak such truths here. Loneliness is not a weakness we confess. Maybe not for you, Elias said. But for us, sharing it helps. Her lips curved faintly, though the glow in her skin dimmed. She turned back to the holograms, hiding her expression. Days passed. Each meeting was unofficial, hidden between schedules, but neither withdrew. Their conversations deepened, no longer diplomacy, but fragments of soul revealed in stolen time. Elias noticed her posture soften when he entered. Lysara, in turn, began asking questions of him she had no reason to ask: his childhood, his favorite sound, the color of his mother's eyes. Yet always there was restraint. A line she drew and redrew in silence. One evening, on the observation deck, Elias found her standing close to the glass, her light shimmering in slow pulses. The galaxy stretched wide beyond her. You shouldn't be here, she whispered as he approached. Neither should you, he replied. Her shoulders stiffened. If Calith knew. He suspects already, Elias interrupted. But I'm not afraid of him. Her gaze snapped to his. You should be. He embodies the law. To him, I am already at fault for allowing your presence. Elias closed the distance between them. The height difference was daunting. She towered above him, radiant and vast. But when he met her eyes, the distance shrank. Then why let me near at all? He asked. Lysara hesitated, her voice trembling despite her control. Because you unsettle me. Because when you speak, I hear something I thought lost. Something I'm forbidden to desire. Silence tightened. The light across her skin shifted faster, betraying emotion she tried to hide. Elias lifted a hand, slowly, as if reaching for a fragile truth. He touched the back of her fingers, barely contact, skin against radiant flesh. Lysara drew a sharp breath. Her hand dwarfed his, yet she did not pull away. The glow of her body brightened at the point of contact, faint warmth spreading against his skin. This is dangerous, she whispered. Dangerous doesn't mean wrong, Elias said softly. For a heartbeat, she leaned down, closer than she should have. He felt the heat of her breath, the hum of her body resonating like hidden thunder. Then she tore herself back, eyes burning with conflict. No, she said firmly, though her voice faltered. My body is not meant for yours. I am too vast. You would be broken before we began. Elias's jaw tightened. That's not what I felt just now. You don't understand, she insisted. Our species are not compatible. It is written into law, into science. I must end this before it destroys us both. Her words cut sharp, but Elias heard what lay beneath: fear, not rejection. He stepped forward again, his voice steady. Then let me decide if I'm broken. Let me choose what I can bear. Her lips parted, but she said nothing. The glow of her body flickered erratically, betraying turmoil. Finally, she turned sharply away. Leave, she said, her tone iron. Before I forget my duty. Back aboard the Nereid, Elias lay restless in his quarters. He replayed the moment of contact, the warmth of her hand, the tremor in her voice. It was not impossibility, he knew it now. It was fear of consequence, of Calith, of law. Yet the memory of her almost leaning down, the hesitation that could have become surrender, burned brighter than any star outside his window. The next day, Lysara sent a summons, not formal, but urgent. Elias met her in a secluded chamber, where she paced with agitation, her luminous patterns flickering in disarray. I feel different, she said abruptly. Elias frowned. Different how? My body, she admitted. There are changes I cannot explain. It should not be possible, yet since our contact, she stopped, shaking her head. No. I must be mistaken. Elias's pulse quickened. You think it's because of me? Her silence was answer enough. Fear shadowed her expression. If Caliph discovers this, he will not question. He will condemn. And you will not survive his judgment. Elias stepped closer, his voice low, deliberate. Then we don't let him discover it. Whatever this is, we face it together. Lysara's eyes widened. For the first time, her composure broke completely. She looked at him not as an envoy or a scientist, but as a woman standing at the edge of something forbidden. You are reckless, she whispered again, the same words she had spoken days before. But this time, her voice carried not only warning, but longing. And when Elias reached for her hand once more, she did not pull away. That night, under the cold watch of alien stars, two lives moved closer to crossing a line neither species believed possible. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows of the station, Calith's gaze followed, watchful, calculating, preparing for the reckoning that must come. The station's laboratory hummed with a low resonance, its walls alive with faint pulses of light. Lysara stood at the center, hands trembling over crystalline instruments, her glow flickering erratically. Elias watched from the side, his body tight with unease. She had summoned him here without preamble, her voice strained, unlike the calm control she always wore. I have run the scans 3 times, she said, her tone clipped, almost harsh. The results do not change. Elias stepped closer. Tell me. Lysara turned, her towering frame tense. Her luminous eyes met his, heavy with disbelief. I show signs of gestation. The words hit him like a shockwave. For a moment, the air seemed thinner, his breath shallow. Gestation, he repeated. Yes. Her voice carried both awe and dread. My body reacts as if I carry life. But this is impossible. Our species are incompatible. I am too vast, my physiology too different. Elias steadied himself. And yet it's happening. Lysara's glow dimmed. If Caliph learns of this, it will not be debated. It will be condemned. He will destroy you. He will erase me to preserve purity. Then he can't learn, Elias said firmly. Her laugh was bitter. Do you believe it can be hidden? My body changes already. Our kind sense such things. The enforcer watches me closely. Elias closed the distance, lowering his voice. Then we protect it. Whatever this is, it matters. If life can grow between us, it changes everything. Lysara's eyes softened, but fear held them rigid. You don't understand the weight. My people have survived millennia because we guard the line of what is pure. To break it is to shatter identity itself. And to hide from it, Elias countered, is to kill the only proof that our species are not as divided as your laws say. Silence stretched, filled with the quiet hum of alien machinery. Finally, she lowered her gaze. You would risk your ship, your crew, your life, for me? Elias did not flinch. For us. The door slid open with a hiss. Caliph entered, his armored form rigid, eyes sharp as blades. Envoy, he said coldly. I request your presence at tribunal. The council grows wary of your indulgence with this human. Lysara straightened, regaining composure in an instant. I serve my duty. Calith's gaze shifted to Elias. And you, Captain. You linger too long. Perhaps you mistake hospitality for weakness. Elias stood firm. We are here under treaty, enforcer. Violation of that would mark your dominion as aggressor. Calith's smile was razor-thin. Do not pretend your species commands fear. One word from me, and your ship vanishes into dark space. No trace, no consequence. Elias didn't back down. Then why haven't you given that word? Calith's eyes narrowed. He studied Lysara, suspicion shadowing his face. Because some among us forget their place. But I will remind them. With that, he left, his presence lingering like poison in the air. Lysara's breath trembled when the door sealed. He knows, she whispered. Not yet, Elias said. But he suspects. That night, Elias paced his quarters aboard the Nereid. His officers pressed for details on negotiations, but he gave them only fragments. He couldn't expose the truth, not yet. The weight of it burned inside him. Lysara carried something neither human nor Villari science believed possible. Sleep evaded him. Images pressed into his thoughts, her towering form dimmed with fear, her hand trembling when she touched the instruments, the flicker of light across her skin when she had admitted the impossible. The door chimed softly. Lysara entered, her glow muted. She had covered herself in a cloak of dark fibers, hiding the radiance that betrayed her emotions. "I should not be here," she whispered. Elias met her gaze. "And yet you are." She stepped closer, towering above him, but her voice carried vulnerability instead of command. "I do not know what to feel. Wonder, terror, both consume me. My people will see this as corruption. But part of me," her voice caught, luminous eyes glistening. "Part of me feels it as miracle." Elias reached for her hand, steadying her tremor. "Then hold on to that part. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Her fingers curled around his, vast but trembling. For the first time, she leaned fully toward him, lowering herself until her forehead brushed his. The glow of her skin bathed him in faint light. "You are too small," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "And yet, you feel more of me than any of my kind." He closed his eyes, pressing against her warmth. "Then we fight for it." The next day, alarms echoed through the station. Elias rushed to the docking bay where Villari guards had gathered. Lysara stood restrained by shimmering bands of energy, Caliph looming over her. "She is compromised," Caliph declared, his voice ringing through the chamber. "Her body bears signs of violation. The human has tainted her." Elias froze, fury igniting in his chest. "You call it violation because you fear it. But you saw no proof." Calith's gaze was lethal. "I need no proof. I see the dimming of her glow, the weakness in her form. And I smell the stench of human touch upon her." Lysara's voice rose, fierce despite her bonds. "Caliph, this is not corruption, it is life." The chamber stilled. The guards shifted uneasily, light patterns across their bodies flickering with uncertainty. Calith's expression hardened. "Blasphemy. You shame your lineage, envoy. I will purge this infection before it spreads." Elias stepped forward, refusing to yield. "You kill her, and you prove your people's weakness, not strength. You're afraid that what we've done makes your laws hollow." Calith's hand moved to the hilt of his weapon. "Then you die first." Before he could strike, Lysara's body flared with light, brighter than before, a surge of energy bursting against her restraints. For a moment, the bands cracked under her will. Her voice thundered. "No, Caliph. This child is not weakness. It is proof that life finds its way, beyond law, beyond fear." The guards faltered, their bodies flickering with confusion. Caliph, enraged, tightened his grip on his weapon. "Then both of you will be erased." Elias drew a deep breath, steady, unwavering. "Not today." As the guards hesitated, Elias's crew stormed into the bay, weapons drawn. The standoff lit the chamber with tension sharp as glass. Elias's gaze never left Caliph. He knew this was no longer diplomacy. This was survival, not just for him and Lysara, but for the impossible life she carried. The station's artificial night cycle muted the humming corridors with dimmed lights. Kai sat at the edge of his bunk, palms pressed to his knees, staring at the sealed door. He could still feel the warmth of Lyra's skin lingering on his fingertips from earlier. Every instinct told him that what they had begun was dangerous, not only for their bodies but for their entire futures. Yet another voice, quieter but firmer, whispered that stepping away would be the greater betrayal. The door hissed open. Lyra entered, tall frame cloaked in her pale ceremonial mantle, but her eyes betrayed a nervous urgency. "You summoned me," she said, voice steadied by force of will. Kai stood. "I had to see you before the council meets tomorrow. If they learn the truth." "They will," Lyra cut him off, pacing across the chamber. "My people are not blind, and neither are yours. They will see what we've done written across our bodies, our eyes." She turned to him suddenly, silver hair sliding forward over her shoulders. "And when they do, they will call it blasphemy. They will call me broken, unfit for command. They will call you reckless, corrupted. Then we face it together. She stilled, lips parting, the usual poise stripped away. You cannot know what that means. I know enough, Kai said firmly. You told me once you were too big to even think of binding with a human. Too strong, too different. And yet here you are. Here we are. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Don't turn this into shame, Lyra. Don't let them define what you feel. Her eyes shimmered with something raw, almost grief. You make it sound simple. But if I stand by you, I lose my station. My soldiers. My people's respect. Everything I was raised to carry. Kai didn't flinch. And if you don't? She looked down, long fingers curling into fists. Then I lose you. Silence stretched between them, charged and aching. When she finally looked back up, the decision was etched in the line of her jaw. Then let us not hide, she whispered. The following day, the council chamber was alive with tension. 12 towering Zeveth delegates lined the Crescent Hall, armored in obsidian ceremonial plates. On the opposite side, the Terran delegation sat rigid, Kai at their front. Between them, at the center, stood Lyra, taller than both groups, her mantle trailing like liquid silver. A commander of her own kind spoke first. General Lyra, you stand accused of violating covenant and biology. You have broken the sacred divide between species. Kai rose before she could respond. She broke nothing. What happened was not corruption, but connection. You call it violation, I call it proof that what separates us is far less than what binds us. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. One of the Terran officers leaned toward Kai and hissed, "You're jeopardizing everything. Do you understand the precedent this sets?" Kai didn't break his gaze from the council. Yes. A precedent of courage. Lyra's voice carried then, low but powerful. I was told since childhood that my strength set me apart, that I was built for war, not intimacy. That I was too much for anything fragile. She swept her gaze across the hall, then settled it on Kai. But fragility is a lie. Humanity showed me resilience in ways I had never imagined. And in that resilience, I found the only truth worth carrying. One of the Zeveth elders slammed his staff to the ground. You would risk genetic collapse for sentiment. Kai stepped forward. No. We risk nothing but your fear of change. You look at us and see incompatibility. I look at her and see a future where our worlds don't just trade resources or treaties, but bloodlines, stories, children. The word children sparked a furious rustle among the council. But Kai saw Lyra's throat tighten, saw her inhale sharply, and knew the thought had already taken root in her. The council demanded a recess. Guards ushered both delegations into separate halls, but Kai and Lyra were granted a final moment together before being divided. She reached for him, fingers trembling. You spoke of children, she whispered. I meant it, Kai said. Not as leverage, not as politics. I meant us. If it's possible, if it happens, then it's the greatest proof that we were never too different to begin with. Her grip tightened, her composure cracking into something fierce, almost desperate. Then no matter what they decide, I won't let them take that from us. The trial extended into days. Debates flared, scientific councils argued probabilities, theologians decried sacrilege. Yet beneath all the noise, the truth of what Kai and Lyra had already shared refused to be dismissed. Whispers spread beyond the council of the human who bound himself to the Zeveth general, of the general who defied centuries of doctrine for one man. Soldiers muttered, citizens speculated. Curiosity began to outweigh outrage. When the verdict finally came, it was fractured. The council refused to sanctify their union but acknowledged it could not be undone. Lyra would be stripped of her title but not exiled. Humanity would face no sanctions, but neither would there be blessing. It was, in essence, a stalemate, yet within it lay freedom. The night of the verdict, Kai found Lyra at the observatory dome, staring out into the shifting veil of nebulae. You've lost everything, he said quietly. She turned to him, and for the first time, her smile was unburdened. No. I've lost the weight of pretending. What I hold now is heavier, yes, but it is real. Kai reached for her hand. Then we carry it together. She leaned into him, armorless, mantle gone, only the warmth of her body against his. Do you still believe what you said before the council? Which part? That we could build something beyond treaties. Something with blood, and breath, and lineage. He didn't hesitate. I do. Her lips brushed his ear as she whispered, then let's see if the stars will bless us. The dome lights dimmed, leaving only the glow of distant galaxies spilling across their faces. In that vastness, neither too big nor too small, their defiance became not scandal, but a beginning. And as Kai pulled her closer, Lyra's whispered vow echoed in the silence. Whatever they fear, we will make true.